Te kia ora tātou, ko tamahanga te maunga, ko matakānakana te awa, no tamaki aho, ko Worth toko whānau, ko Michelle toko ingoa. So I live with my family in Matakānakana. I'm lucky to live on the lovely Matakānakana catchment, and we moved up here about 6 years ago and just have embraced it. We love this area. So, do I have a clicker or just next? Oh, it is there, sorry. Ooh. Yeah. So the Forest Bridge Trust started with a big dream. Jill's family had been working and loving the land for generations at their farm Mataya on the west coast. And as Kevin and Gill approached retirement age, for those that know Kevin and Gill, they had no intention of slowing down. So they started retiring some of their land where it made ecological sense to do so, and started regenerating and doing predator control across parts of their land. And in 2013, they released kiwi there. And just as an aside, local MP John Key was in attendance, and he asked the question, what would it take for this to happen everywhere? Because he obviously was there having a really good time and loving what he was seeing. And of course, the answer to that was, well, it'd have to be predator-free. And that sparked quite a conversation. And I was dwelling on just that little point as an aside the other day. For those of us that are like really digging in to our mahi and protecting our patch and advocating for what we're doing, you know, that pivot point can happen so quickly in just one conversation and one comment. So like, I thought that was really inspiring. So just keep doing what you're doing. But for Kevin and Gill, that was the start of an even bigger dream. Why stop with Mataya? And they asked some people, what would it take for our kiwi to thrive? And they said, oh, you'd need 10,000 hectares under predator control. And Kevin and Gill, of course, thought, why stop there? What if they could wander right across our island and meet up with some of their cousins that we know are over on Tawharanui on the east coast? So they understood that they'd need a specialised team to work with landowners across our very wide and diverse community. And that was how the Forest Bridge Trust was established in 2014. And that's our vision, and it hasn't changed much in the almost decade that we've been in existence. Cool. So it started with a bunch of contractors operating teaching programs in schools and fencing and planting and community predator control workshops where we distributed traps to the community. And in 2019, as part of a grant from Auckland Council, we undertook a review of what we were doing, and we realised that handing out 1 to 2 traps in a community workshop environment wasn't really achieving the outcomes that we were wanting. So we started to develop our community engagement model, which I'll talk to you a little bit about today. But then the moment came where Kevin and Gill and our board of trustees by then, their ability to dream big really paid off, because in 2020 we were approached by Save the Kiwi, who were working with Doc, who had been tasked with handing out hundreds of millions of dollars as part of that Jobs for Nature program. And Save the Kiwi had confidence that the Forest Bridge Trust could whip up a robust proposal in what I think was a ridiculous time frame. It might have been a weekend. And thankfully, and I think it's fair to say somewhat shockingly, it was successful. And this was our team at Christmas in 2020 with our board of directors in front. So this fund enabled the trustees and the team to employ that specialised team of people, some of whom were part of that group of original contractors. And our main contract deliverable is to create a network of muster-lid traps across Aotearoa, and the KPI is 54,000 hectares under muster-lid control across Northern Rodney. So why muster-lids? We did this one for the kids. So we all, I'm probably preaching to people that already know here, but ferrets, of course, are a threat to fully grown kiwi. This one here was responsible for taking out a couple at Mataya. Now he's doing penance as an educator. Stoats, of course, they are a threat to juvenile kiwi up to about 1,000 milligrams of milligrams, 1 kg. Also in the Fight for the Wild video, it showed there was some really interesting footage of a stoat constantly entering a nest and harassing a nesting male, and him having to constantly leave his egg and defend his nest. And then weasels as well, but they're less of a direct threat to kiwi, but they are very prevalent in northern Rodney, and they do compete for the same food sources. So in a journey with the Forest Bridge Trust, usually the community liaison team is the first communication that someone might have as a landowner or a trapper. It's a body of work that's close to my heart because that is where I started my journey with the Forest Bridge Trust back in April 21. So we understand our project to be somewhat rare in this in relation to other predator control projects across the stream of funding, because our model primarily relies on landowners playing their part and checking their traps. The community liaison team are true community connectors and are tasked with finding and onboarding landowners to undertake trapping and to get them to check, rebait and report regularly. The phrase we use is that our approach is bottom up, and the word connection is regularly used. And that's not just in an ecological sense, but it's in a social sense as well. Speaking to those two ideas of bottom up and connection, some of the first conversations we have with landowners in a workshop or an individual conversation is to find out what the community feels is important to them. What do they connect with? What are they concerned about? And we get some really fun feedback here, which can range from seeing new growth on their trees to native species they've seen and want to see more of, or more frequently now, they may have heard kiwi nearby and they want to help be part of that protection effort. Alternatively, we might connect over frustration, like rats in the compost or possums nibbling at their lemons, or a couple of stoats tumbling around their backyard and driving their dogs mad. And through those conversations, we help share information and some education on the predators we know that are in their environment and what impact they might be having. But we're always guided by that initial kōrero about what's connected them, what is important to them. And then once a landowner's once a landowner's decided to be part of the project, we share a goodwill agreement, which gives the landowners some confidence around what the Forest Bridge Trust can provide and helps to build trust. Acknowledge that we ask a lot of our landowners, and we want them to know, we use it as a tool to demonstrate our commitment to them. Then we send one of our lovely PC predator control team to their place to set up traps and to train them on how to use them. And it just continues that education and motivation journey. Our predator control team are so knowledgeable, and quite frequently they'll be there talking to landowners for a good hour or so while they're setting up their traps, because landowners do want to know a lot about them, and they've got such a vast range of experience. So more recently, the community liaison team, speaking back to that, having to get landowners to be motivated to check traps and to keep going and to keep reporting, they've developed this lovely follow-up system, which includes a series of emails, phone calls and invitations to events such as this one, where we work to connect landowners to other trappers within the area and our wider area. And so they know that that mahi is contributing to something just beyond their own fences. And the conversations we've been having lately is that we're trying to create some lasting behaviour change. And the analogy we've used is like the recycling thing. You know, a couple of years ago, none of us knew what rubbish to put in our recycling bins, and we would, not often did it. But now that's all done without a second thought. We know how to split our recycling, and we take our recycling to the curb. And that works. And although we have acknowledged that we don't have sticks, we only deal in carrots. But it has worked. So this little diagram here, I don't know how to use the pointer, I don't want to break it, is a thing that we designed when we were looking at our engagement program. And it's just a way that we use to work through that connection within our communities. So we like to create hubs of people doing predator control in a geographical area. So it might be a street or a neighbourhood or a suburb, where they're all working together and supporting each other. And those hubs might be part of something called a halo or a buffer zone. And a wonderful example of this is the Tawharanui buffer zone, which is about 6,000 hectares that's being predator controlled by the community in support of Tawharanui Trappers' wonderful kiwi translocation, which happened earlier this year. And so within that buffer zone or halo, we have lots of little hubs created where there's an immediate support network, and then people know that they're part of a bigger project. And then networking these together, again, it goes from a little backyard effort to, oh, look, I'm part of a landscape scale change here. So that's what we're constantly trying to do, is to show people that they're working more than just in their own backyards. I'd just like to know that our PC team, our predator control team, also do maintain some traps in key areas. And we also have a volunteer program where we support volunteers to maintain trap lines on key properties, which I'll talk a little bit about later. So how we've implemented this new system of follow-up and reconnection and touch points with our landowners. Then we need to make sure that that was working, because it's a lot of effort for the team, and it does create wonderful social connections, but is it meaningful? So that's where our data team have come in, and they have developed a way to track what we're now calling TCF, and it's called TCF and it stands for trap check frequency. And trap check frequency, when you're saying it over and over again, is really, really hard to say. So it's TCF. And so now with the click of a button, we can see what percentage of traps have been checked within 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. And with the idea that we can adjust our follow-up program to suit that data feedback. So that sort of immediate data allows us to answer questions like, did we see an upswing in TCF after a certain event? Did TCF improve or decline after a particular set of social media posts? And how do seasons affect TCF? So our wonderful data team, who are deployed around the room managing all of the techie stuff, have done this by integrating. We've got a bespoke client relationship management software. We've got ArcGIS and a team that are really busy at using that, and of course TrapNZ. And so all of those programs now talk to each other, and they've done some really clever things. For example, we might put in our CRM system an address of a property that we're maintaining, and then they can now make it automatically include all the properties around that one address that might be owned by the same landowner. So we know that all of those properties, if they're checked by us, we extract that data from the TCF figure. So we can actually extract what traps are being checked by our predator control team from what the community are doing. So the ones that our team are checking regularly don't skew that data. So there's lots of little clever back-end things that make this appearance of a spreadsheet with some percentages on it just appear at the click of a button. And the data team have developed automated emails from Bob the system that come to our CL team and remind them of who they need to connect with that week and what stage people are at with their journey. And we've also have an automated email system. So if there's a ferret sighting or a ferret catch or a ferret camera, a ferret caught in a camera, that will generate an email to our predator control team so they can respond accordingly. So a recent example of that of how we would respond is there was a ferret sighted in sort of south of Warkworth, and we knew about that, and we talked to our lovely friends at Auckland Transport, who approved us putting a trap line along the road, and that's gone in a week later, and now we're waiting with bated breath, pun intended, to see if that catches anything. Yeah, so this is a screenshot of the dashboard that we get, that we can look at. All of the little dots or flags denote catches of certain critters, and the stars show camera sightings. And these little pie graphs at the bottom show those trap check frequency. And this is something that's quite new for us, this level of data, and preliminary results show that the implementation of the follow-up sort of series of touch points that the CL team are working on have increased that trap check frequency, already. So we're wanting to get a series of data to back that up. Cool. Volunteering program is something that we've developed and put a lot of energy into lately, and we've got lovely Eleanor, who actually made that. That's quite impressive. And Paula, who are in the team looking after our volunteers. We have a family trapline program that comes out of Liz Mears' Schools Forest Defenders program. So after she's run a series of courses within schools, we will meet with the parents of the students, and if they're interested, set up a trapline in their area that they can maintain. And we have 3 running that came out of Matakana School that are actually backing up the work that the Tamahanga trappers are doing on the Maunga. And they're really regular trappers, and they're absolutely amazing. So that's a really fun way to engage those different levels of the different age groups in the community. We recently undertook a stope monitoring program, which involved 102 field cameras deployed throughout our region in trapped and untrapped areas for a month. And we had them set on 15-second video snapshots, which was great. And that study actually was to see what sort of residual stope counts there might be in areas that are trapped and areas that are untrapped. So let's see what we should have and what is there now that we're trapping. And Dr. Virginia Moreno is going to talk more about the results of that study tomorrow. But in the context of volunteers, you can imagine how much data that generated. And we had a couple of volunteers that would help us work through those SD cards. But one note about setting the videos for 15 seconds, you've got to make sure you set your camera really well, because otherwise you'll put your card in and you'll see you've got 700 videos, and you'll know that 689 of those videos are a piece of pampas or something spinning in the wind, and that the footage that you really want is right in the middle of those, so there's no avoiding going through that card. Yeah, so thank you to those volunteers. Part of the building of that volunteer program is we all know how hard it is to recruit and to train and to retain volunteers once they're on board. So we developed this little system which shows people's journey with the Forest Ridge Trust, so we can make sure that they're moving with us and being rewarded fairly and acknowledged. So we have, I love this, the Pi Waka Waka volunteer. That are trying out how they fit with us, and they're light and nimble and inquisitive, which I think is a perfect bird for that example. And then our Tui volunteers have been with us for a little bit longer, and they know that what we do is really, they align with what we're doing, and they might stay with us a bit longer. And we have our lovely Ruru volunteers, which is another lovely bird to explain this, that have been there for a while, and they know what they're doing. They can train other volunteers. And we sort of acknowledge and reward accordingly. We also offer upskill opportunities to our volunteers. And for example, Eleanor organised a 5-minute bird count courses for volunteers to come along on, as well as our staff. And if we've got any spare seats at the table with internal training, our Ruru volunteers are usually the first ones that get an opportunity to come and sit in with our team and take on the extra training. Another work stream that's close to our heart is, and has been from the beginning, is fencing and planting. We have 2 members of our team, Katie and Angela, who work alongside KMR to protect and restore the Kaipara Harbour as part of the Kaipara Moana remediation project. This project covers 600,000 hectares of the Kaipara Moana catchment. It covers 2 regions, 7 major river systems, 92,000 micro-catchments, and 9 planting eco-districts. And what I love about these 2 work streams is that there's obviously lots of crossover and synergy. So the fencing planting team might undertake a project on a property, and then our predator control, they introduce our predator control team, and we come in and do some predator control, and vice versa. If our predator control or our community liaison team are talking to a landowner and on their property, know that they might have a project that's suitable for a KMR input, then they will connect. So it's very cool. Katie and Angela are actually going to be manning a KMR table out here in the courtyard near all the plants. It's an easy way to find them. and they will be able to answer any questions that you have on the KMR project. And these slides are thanks to KMR, by the way. So these are the circle projects, are the projects that they are currently facilitating through KMR, and then I understand that there's an expansion of the project into these other areas towards the end of the year. Cool. Okay, this map, I've spoken a bit about community and about how that guides what we do, but there is always an ecological underpinning to everything we do, and that especially is true around how we prioritise our work. This is a map produced by Dr. Virginia Moreno, our team ecologist. It shows the least cost paths for Kiwi populations to travel through our region. So the brown areas are, the brown areas are the areas where we know that there are Kiwi. So we have Kiwi on Tawharanui, Tamahanga and Mataia. And we know that our neighbours to the north in Piroa, Brunderwin, also have Kiwi population up there. The blue areas are fragments of bush that are greater than 500 hectares in our area that are suitable Kiwi habitat. And then the little things connecting them, the darker green they are, the better pathway they sort of are for Kiwi to travel through our landscape. We used to have to insert quite a big disclaimer here saying that this is just a desktop exercise, it is not a signposted Kiwi highway. However, we have had some evidence recently, we have had some evidence that the work that Virginia has done is actually accurate. So there's a plug for coming to listen to Virginia tomorrow. So we use these sorts of maps to prioritise some of our work. We know these areas are likely to be the areas that Kiwi are travelling and that we need to protect them, and that has definitely shown to itself to be true. A big part of our work, though, is also supporting existing community group activity within our area, and we're so lucky to be living in a region that has just got so many enthusiastic, organised and passionate community groups working. It's one of our favourite ways to engage with the community and acknowledge that no one inspires a community better than the people that are actually living within the community itself. So we're really pleased to be living in an area that has that sort of community backup. So this map, this is a map that we produce quarterly, and after it hits our desktops, we all have a little whoop whoop moment and like, yay, we added this many hectares. Then Virginia gets her red vivid out and she goes and sits with our community liaison team and she circles all the holes. She's like, can you focus on these areas? So that's another way that we prioritise our work. But it's a great slide to end on because this was our map at the end of the 2023 financial year. Out of that 54,000 hectares that we've been tasked with doing, we are at 32,364 hectares. So that's the work of our team, but that's also the work of the community. It's our landowners, it's our community groups. And it's a really promising trend and upswing. And just like to acknowledge all of the work that everyone's doing contributing to this. So thank you.